What is up, everybody? Alex from WMD here, back at you again, and this time we're going to be talking about a brand new module. This one is called Carbon. So Carbon is a 4 HP analog filter module, 100% analog signal path, and it's got some really cool tricks up its sleeve, making it an awesome addition to any Eurorack system. So Carbon is based on a two-pole state variable design, meaning you have low-pass, bandpass, and high-pass filters. You have individual outputs for each of those as a two-pole filter, and then you have a four-pole output. What this four-pole output is essentially a second two-pole filter, and if you have one two-pole filter going into the next in series, that's a four-pole filter. So we have an output for that, and then we have a switch that lets you switch between the different modes for that output. We also have an input saturator, which takes the input signal, runs it through a saturation circuit before it hits either of those filters, and just kind of beefs it up a little bit. This isn't a distortion, it's not anything crazy, it's just a little bit of extra warmth. There's 3 levels as well as variable control over that, so a really nice just extra little feature in there. And then we have the Wavefolder, which is on the output of the 4-pole filter. So the 2-pole filters are very clean, and then the 4-pole output is clean as well, but then it has this optional Wavefolder where you can switch it on and off, and that gives you a kind of gnarlier distortion sound. It just really screams when you've got that resonance up. It sounds really nice, and it's got a really cool character to it. So Carbon also tracks volt per octave very well. It's temperature compensated, so no matter what climate or environment you're in, it will track very well. So in this video, we're going to start off with simple frequency sweeps, and then we're going to go into a little bit more of a complex patch and see what this thing sounds like. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is we're just going to run a saw wave out of my phase displacement oscillator here. We go into the input of Carbon, and then we're going to go low pass out. This is the 2-pole low pass filter. Go straight into the mixer. And here's what this guy sounds like. So we're going to bring the resonance down, and we're just going to sweep some frequencies. Just a little bit more resonance. As you can tell, that just sounds nice, clean, and very stable as I sweep the frequency. And the resonance will self-oscillate after about 3 o'clock, so you can get real crazy real quick. Alright, so now we're going to go to the bandpass output. You can hear that it's cutting out frequencies on both sides of the cutoff. A little bit more resonance. Lots of it. Alright, and now the high pass output. So again, just real nice, clean, classic filter sounds. So now we're going to go to the 4-pole side. This is the low pass. This one still sounds real nice and clean, but it's just got a little bit of a different character. Alright, so now we're going to go to bandpass. Now to high pass. We'll go back to low pass. So as you can tell, real nice sounding filter that has no input saturation, no wavefolding. Those are just the pure filter sounds. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring up the filter just a little bit, and we're going to listen to the different saturation sounds. This one is very subtle. It just kind of brings out the low end a little bit. So you definitely want to listen to this one on speakers or headphones. Alright, so there's our filter. I'm just gonna hold this button and you'll see the saturation LED light up dimly. There's 3 different levels of saturation, and let's see if you can pick up on how they sound. So there's one. There's the next. And that's the max. So you can hear it just kind of beefs up that low end, just makes it sound a little bit more warm before it hits that filter. If I hold this button a little bit longer, it'll go back to 0. So you can really hear that difference between max and 0. There's also an input, saturation input here, and this allows you to use CV to control the saturation amount. So I'm going to use this a 10 here, and I'm just going to bring up the fader. So if you want a little bit more control over exactly how much saturation you're giving it, you can do that with CV. Alright, so now for the Wavefolder, we're listening to the 4-pole out, so all we have to do is tap this button and it'll turn on that output Wavefolder. You can hear it just got a little bit more raunchy right away. We'll do some sweeps. Check it out when we bring up this resonance. So this is the output Wavefolder that is in the SYNCHRODYNE module. It's the same circuit. It's an awesome Wavefolder. It just sounds really nice. And if you just want to add a little bit of grit to your sound, it just does that right away. So it's nice that it's optional. You can turn it on for heavy parts of the song, turn it back off. This thing is really great for live performance. It's got a couple more things I'll show you in that. But right now, let's just build up a patch. So I'm going to take the output and I'm going to run it through this VCA over here on this other new module we have called Javelin. And Javelin is a envelope with integrated VCA. And then I'm going to take the volt per octave signal out of my Volterra here. And I've got that running through time warp, and I'm just going to take a split cable, go out of time warp, and go into the PDO as well as the carbon. Now I'll add a little bit more range here. Alright, so here we go. So I'm going to bring up my patch, the rest of my drums. Let's start on 1 so we know where we are. 1, 2, 3, go, boom! There we go. That's my sequence. So we have no envelope going right now, just the volt per octave. So let's bring out the envelope out of Javelin here. We're going to run that into the FM input. And Javelin has this really cool range feature where we can just bump up the range by tapping a button. And it's got 3 ranges, so we can go longer. Really hear that filter. I'm going to turn on the Wavefolder. Now I'm going to go back to short with no Wavefolder. So really nice sound, and just like long envelopes, just man, that Wavefolder just loves long envelopes. Alright, so now we do have a ping input, so I'm just going to take another output of my Metron and I'm going to run this into ping. What ping does is it opens up the filter all of the way, and then it just has a really quick envelope, so it's a fast attack and then a pretty fast decay, but it's mimicking the way a Vactrol would decay, so it's just a little bit slower than like what an actual trigger would do. So here we go with that. And let's make this last one a nice long gate here, and then we'll ping across this gate. So you can hear it's a nice way to add modulation without having to use an LFO or anything like that. You can just ping it and get some cool textures in the filter sound. I'm going to clear the ping out and take that output out now. All right, so as far as performance control, one of the things I mentioned earlier is that it's great for live performance. I showed you turning on the Wavefolder, turning it off. Well, there's another really cool feature in here, which is switching the modes. And how that works is if I just tap this button, you'll hear a slight delay before it switches the mode. So I'll just switch to bandpass. Now here's high pass. So you could hear in the middle of that, just took a second for it to move, right? So the point of that is that you can hit this button multiple times to land on the filter that you want. Then you hold that button and it will not change until you release. So to show you what I mean, I'm going to switch to high pass and create kind of a drop. I'm going to take out the kick drum and switch to high pass at the same time. So I'm going to hit this switch twice. So here we go, twice. Now I'm holding it. It's telling us we're going to go to high pass, but we haven't moved yet, right? So now when I take out the kick drum, I'm just going to release this button. 2, 3, go. Now we're in high pass. Now I might bump up the range. Turn on that Wavefolder. Now I'm going to hold this button again, and I'm going to hit all 3 buttons when I release here. So that's a really fun way to just kind of transition between 2 different sounds just using the filter, right? All right, so let's beef this up a little bit with saturation. I'm going to use my a 10 again, so I'm just going to take an output from here, run it into the saturation input. I'm going to turn up the saturation a little bit. All right, so we'll turn it down. So again, very subtle effect, but just a little bit more fatness and warmth on there. Bring that Wavefolder back. High pass, or band pass. High pass. Back to low pass. So that's saturation and wavefolding. So you can hear the difference when I bring the saturation down. So saturation has kind of a cool effect on the wavefolded sound. All right, let's bring that ping back here. Need a longer cable. All right, so the last thing in here is we do have voltage control over resonance. So I'm just going to do that with my Volterra here. And I'm going to record different amounts of resonance here. So it's nice to have variable CV control over resonance as well. All right, so that is it. That is Carbon, our new 4HP analog filter. As always, please like and subscribe and post anything you'd like to see me demo below, and we'll see y'all next time. Peace.